For too long, our antitrust policies have focused on prices and consumers, which is important. And the Amazon example shows that we've had weak enforcement of those policies, and that's let these big companies increase prices across the board. We've also talked about how consolidation creates other problems, particularly for American workers. Whenever these companies merge, the corporate executives like to talk about the new efficiencies. And what they usually mean by that is they're going to lay off workers and cut wages. So as companies grow more dominant, they have more and more power to lay off workers and to cut wages with no real consequences for themselves, because they know that as industries become more consolidated, workers have fewer alternatives. This means that employees who are subject to increasingly harsh, dehumanized working conditions, a worker can't just move to a better job if there's no other available employer. This is called monopoly power, and our antitrust laws need to better address this. So, Ms. Brown, if I can, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions here. You work for Amazon Fresh, and lots of people order their groceries for delivery within a few hours, never think anything more about it. But there's a grueling process that happens behind the scenes to accomplish this feat. Can you explain how conditions at your warehouse have changed during the pandemic?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna paint a picture for you about what the process looks like. So as soon as you go on the website and you click the place your order button, it causes a chain reaction of people running around the warehouse to gather everything. So it's a small team of those who, they'll initially be looking at the numbers and everything and pass it down to, another squad of people who are then running around a warehouse this size, that's bigger than a football field to then gather those items. Then it goes to an even smaller team that's usually at a max of say like 5 people to package those items out. And then it goes to an even, smaller amount of people where they're responsible for sorting everything depending on where it's going, you know, uh, on a conveyor belt. And then it goes to my people where we work on the dock and we're responsible for sorting thousands of those orders that get to us every day for 11 hours, making sure they get on their trucks and making sure it gets to, the customers as intact as possible. So now the human toll in all of this is basically we have very few to no breaks. We work until our bodies are basically, they're past the emergency stop button. We delay bathroom breaks, we miss lunch, we can't miss work. And during the pandemic, you have a lot of us that, we're burnt out. So a lot of us, me included, we would literally take like 30 seconds to, just kind of cry it out for a little bit and then get right back to it. And then when you go home, you don't even have the energy to take care of your family if, you have kids or you have family members who are dependent on you. Things such as cleaning the house or cooking for yourself basically become non-existent on, days that you have to work.
Right. So this sounds really grueling. And I know that during these challenging times, many people across a lot of different industries have considered quitting their jobs and finding better employment. However, Amazon is continuing to grow like no other company, especially while small retailers and small local businesses are closing. So let me ask, Ms. Brown, if conditions are this bad at the Amazon warehouse, what other employment options do you and your coworkers have to be able to support yourselves and your families?
Well, black and brown people in my, particular neighborhood, a lot of my coworkers, we don't really have very many options open to us out here in New Jersey. So most other jobs out here are warehouse jobs or retail, and those don't pay enough. Amazon pays just a bit more than them. So we're stuck, being taken advantage of, advantage of in warehouses like this. And this is what they bank on. So they know we have no other choice. So they continue with the lack of, regulation and everything to protect us.
Right. So you're right. It's not an accident. As the largest employer in your industry, equipped with massive power, Amazon can pressure other companies to follow suit with its poor labor standards, or they just put those companies out of business. Now, it was announced last week that the Amazon facility in Bessemer, Alabama, that workers there are entitled to hold a new union election. And if that election is successful, this would be Amazon's first union ever in the United States. But I want to ask about the other side of that, what it's like to negotiate with Amazon if you don't have a union on your side. Amazon claims, and for this one, I actually want to quote Amazon on it. They claim that direct connection between managers and associates is the most effective way to understand and respond to the wants and needs of Amazon employees. Now, it's certainly effective for Amazon's bottom line, but Ms. Brown, can you tell us how effective this direct connection that Amazon talks about, negotiating with Amazon without a union, has been for you and for your fellow workers?
So, okay, so my colleagues and I have been fighting for change at Amazon for years, and instead of listening to us and working with us to find solution, they tend to double down and continue to exploit us. So that's continuing why we speak out to improve working conditions and for executives to take us seriously. So, going against Amazon, especially when, say you're going to be written up or something, is kind of like, trying to defend yourself in court. It's usually not going to go too well.
Yeah. Well, I'm very concerned that the workers that are most at risk during this pandemic are more likely to be women, are more likely to be people of color. And of course, it varies depending on the job. So, if I can, this is the last thing I want to ask you here, Ms. Brown. As a Black woman, what have you observed about Amazon's treatment of racial minorities and women?
So now Amazon, they will hire any and everyone. That's true. But depending on what race you are, that's going to determine whether if you can get promoted and sometimes what you're going to be doing. Most of the workers are Black and brown, and very few of us hold high positions in the company. And it shows in the promotion process. They will promote only enough Black and brown people so that way it looks okay. But mostly they hire white managers out of school who have never actually worked for Amazon versus hiring, the majority of their workforce that's Black and brown, promoting us upward when we know the process.
Yeah.
They really don't when they do promote you, the pay is definitely different from those who get hired from outside. So if you're a Black and brown worker, usually when you make manager, internal promotions, you get a lower wage compared to someone who is going to be coming from outside that's going to be getting a higher wage. And women, it's, even more scarce to really see us in any kind of leadership roles with any of the same responsibility and respect. They'd rather promote usually a white guy over someone that looks like me.
Well, I appreciate your testimony. You're coming in to talk to us about this. All of this suggests to me that if we really tackled the dominant power issue by fighting abusive employer practices, by limiting mergers that would harm workers, and by empowering workers to unionize, we could accomplish two important goals at the same time. We could strengthen the American labor force and the middle class, and we could advance racial and gender equity. Vigorous competition enforcement would be better for all Americans who work and better for all Americans who purchase goods. So thank you very much for your testimony, Ms. Brown. I really do appreciate it.